Are you ready to take your sniper skills to the next level and dominate on the battlefield for Call of Duty Warzone?
I'm coming up there. It's gonna take me a second though.
He's dead.
Oh, Fire's just flicked his head off.
Whether you're a new marksman or a seasoned sniper, today I'm going to share with you my settings on how to get the most out of sniping inside Warzone. Now, it's not just about the one pinpoint shot, but also about being able to make these shots consistently over range, different drops, and of course, being able to secure those wins for your team, and the most crucial knocks in the game. Afghanistan features long line of sights and also the return of some of the strongest snipers since Warzone's first release, while maps like Rebirth Island and Fortune's Keep feature some very aggressive line of sights for snipers as well. Again, with the return of the Kar 98 and then weapons such as the XRK Stalker, the Moors, and the Cat AMR, snipers have a lot of choices, but each one comes with its own weaknesses. So I'm going to cover those, some builds, and then show you the settings on how to be the absolute best sniper inside Warzone. Now, the gameplay going on behind me will be using the Reclaimer 18 and the Kar 98. So I need to make sure that the entire time I'm using the Kar 98, I'm using it to its absolute maximum value, because the Reclaimer is only good for about 10 meters. So you're going to see me utilize the Kar 98 to keep distance, to properly remove enemies, and to maintain zone control so that my allies can make pushes and remove teams from all of the problematic areas inside this round. I'm going to be dropping 18 kills on this round, and it's a really good match between me and some buds. So I hope you enjoy that while we go over how to be the best sniper inside of Warzone. Up first, here is the absolute best Kar 98 build inside of the game. You're going to see a lot of different options on this one, but this right here gives you the best bullet velocity, the furthest one-shot headshot range, reduces the flinch, and gives you a super clean optic. If you want to run any of the thermal optics, I recommend the Thermal Optic X9, but if you're looking for just a standard optic, the X10 Endless AS7 is absolutely best in match. You need the sonic suppressor, the precision of the barrel, the high grain, and then I run the recon sling so that way I can fight through the shots and I get less flinch. But if you just absolutely need the most ADS speed, you can run no stock, but that's at your own risk. The second thing I want to show you on here is the XRK Stalker, which by most standards is a better version of the Kar 98. Now with this, you're going to be running something very similar: sonic suppressor, fission barrel, high grain rounds, Endless AS7. This is going to give you a one-shot range that's similar, if not better, than most of the Kar 98 ones, with a significantly better bullet velocity. So if you like the Kar, but you feel like you need something with a better bullet velocity, this is your build. The XRK Stalker, and it's an absolute monster of a shot, especially if you are accurate. And then finally, I'm going to show you the King of Kings, the best sniper in the game, and that is the Moors. The Moors with the photonic charge barrel and the anti-material slugs will one-shot headshot at any range. And this one with the photonic barrel ends up being, it says 144 bullet velocity, but don't let that fool you. That's if you do no charge. At a max charge on this with the slugs, you're looking at about 1600 meters per second with a one-shot headshot range at all ranges, and a maximum of 257 to the upper torso, which means if they are falling into the map and they do not have one of those plates installed, they will go down to a upper torso or lower torso shot at any range. So you are looking at a weapon that not only one-shots at all ranges, but if they're missing one plate, will one-tap to the chest at all ranges. This is an absolute monster of a sniper rifle. It is constantly being overlooked, and it is by far the strongest sniper in the game, especially if you are playing on Afganistan. This one takes some time to learn. The photonic charge barrel is not the easiest, but it can be held indefinitely. So utilizing this one will absolutely let you laser beam, almost literally, as this is a railgun, people out of the air, people out of cars, off of the top of every roof. And this is my most accused of hacking weapon in the game. I cannot tell you how many videos that I post that people tell me that I'm hacking, and I'm just using the Moors. So if you want to look like a hacking sniper, run this Moors build. You need it. Let's look at some settings, because this is the one that I've worked on for probably the longest inside the game, and it's taken me 6 seasons of way too long of gaming. Settings are probably one of the most unique things that can be used to obviously customize the way that you run and it's taken me a long time to really nail down the settings for what I'm using. And that is because I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes down to setting up my stuff. So first off, we're using controller. You can obviously do this on keyboard and mouse. I have a whole nother setting video that I can do for that one later. But we're gonna start off on controller because there's more people who play controller than anything else. And so I figure I'm going to give you the best settings for controller to start with. So one of the things I do right now is I actually use bumpers for my shot. The bumper shot allows me to be able to just basically insta-click no matter what. It doesn't matter how fast your triggers are on your controllers. It doesn't matter if you have trigger stops or not. If you use bumpers, it's always the same. There is never a question of how far you need to pull it. It's an instant click. So I have been using bumpers for quite a while now, and it is by far one of the better choices that I've made as far as changing the way that I play. Plus, being a claw player means that I can reach over to my YXBA very easy, or my D-pad very easy with my reach over fingers, because it's just how I've been playing. I've been playing for nearly 30 years. I've been a sniper in competitive games for a long time. So this has been one of the best choices for my hand type. Now, if you like your triggers and you just love the way they work, rock it. I'm proud of you. I think it's awesome. So now let's get into Deadzones. Deadzones, I am running a really odd situation here. Left stick minimum of 5, right stick minimum of 5. This just allows you to not overcorrect frequently. And then left stick max of 60, which means I only have to push about 60% to get to my maximum movement speed. This allows me to get into maximum movement speed significantly faster than someone who has to push their stick all the way to the end to be able to reach that. This means that I can move around faster, and I can also get to full strafe speed faster. And then right stick max at 99%. And that is, again, just so that way I have the absolute finest motor control possible. I use right stick a lot, especially as a sniper. When it comes to regular auto gunfire, I recommend aiming a lot with left stick. But whenever you start doing the fine motor motions to the very long range fights, you need to be able to have control of the right stick, and the fine motor control helps a ton. So 99 on that one. Aiming, when we start getting into sensitivities, people ask me this one frequently, and this is one of the ones that I think a lot of people don't even realize exist. There are custom sensitivity settings. I set it at a 1.4. A 1.4 is roughly on this scale about a 6 or 7. So it's a little high for some people, but that's okay, because I'm going to show you how to make up for it, because sometimes it's high for me too. But once I warm up, it gets going well again. Sensitivity multipliers. You're going to see all these that are set to 1. Those are just default, and you'll see that this is grayed out. ADS sensitivity multiplier. So that is because when I go further down, you'll see why. So when you get into the tack stance, I have a 0.8. 0.8 just allows you to have a little bit more control when you tack stance. Doesn't matter as much for sniping. I'm running dynamic. You'll hear people say dynamic got nerfed, linear's better, standard's better, linear's better, dynamic's better. It doesn't matter. When it comes down to it, dynamic works for me, and if you have one that works for you, I recommend sticking with it. Relearning a whole new curve type after you've stuck with one is rough. You can do it. I like dynamic because it gives me a lot of control over fine motions, over distance. But if you've already been playing linear, linear is better for your muscle control. So if you're more familiar with linear, stick with it. If you are on standard, I recommend swapping to dynamic. Focus multiplier. This is when you hold your breath. So I have mine set to 0.8, which means if I need a little bit more control, I can then hold my breath and I can get a little bit slower ADS, and this allows me to make those fine adjustments over range. And this right here, this is one of the things that gets me called a hacker all the time. ADS sensitivity transition timing, instant. You always want this to start instantly. You don't want to have slow changes or wait for something to be completely zoomed in. This is what you need to be able to be 100% consistent all the time. Now here is my fine zoom. This is why I don't have a ADS sensitivity multiplier. That's because every custom or every sensitivity is different per my zoom level. So my base is 0.8. 0.8 is going to be what I would normally have my ADS sensitivity multiplier set to. But 0.8 allows me to always have about a 20% slower ADS sensitivity whenever I'm aiming down sights. When I start getting to 4 to 5, 0.7. When I start getting to 6 and higher, it is 0.65. And what this has done is this has allowed me that when I start getting to the larger scopes, that I have a little bit slower sensitivity, because if you haven't noticed, when you use a larger scope inside of Call of Duty, it feels like you're like whipping around really, really fast. I have been able to remedy that by going through and setting all of these ADS sensitivity multipliers independently, allowing me to have better control over large zoom scopes, which are generally the ground loot default scopes, because I generally run around a 5, like a 5 to a 2 to 5 on most of my scopes. So this is your fine tuning, and this has been extremely helpful on me being able to land the extreme long shots and still be able to control my up close and quarters fights. Aim assist is set to default because this is just default. I don't really mess with it. And I don't think you really, unless you just really want to start getting into that, avoid the motion sensitive behavior. If you're on PS5 and you're running one of those dual sense and you have the gyroscopes, I don't recommend it. Too many times I've seen people pull their own self off target, and I don't think it's worth it. I think it's a gimmick. When we get into gameplay, normally I would recommend an automatic tac sprint. I've actually swapped away from that. Automatic tac sprint has caused me to not be able to reload my weapons properly. It's interrupted at tons. There was glitches. There was all sorts of problems. Now, automatic sprint and slide maintain sprint, these allow me to continue to move in and out of gunfire and allow me to be able to maintain my fights while not constantly interrupting actions that I'm doing with auto tac sprint. I have my tac sprint set to toggle. This is how you offset the no longer running automatic tac sprint, because then I just double tap and I'm already in tac sprint and it just keep moving forward. Double tap, ground and metal, partial, all this. Slide dive behavior to hybrid. It takes forever to learn, but it is one of the most useful changes that they've done to the slide dive behavior, because now I can control both. I don't get delays on my sprint to fire. I don't get delays on anything. I can now utilize both, and it's a pain. It really is a pain, but you will get it and you'll be winning. No time at all. Change zoom behavior set to melee. It's because I use crouch on stick and I don't want to accidentally keep changing any of my stuff. And then one of the big things after that, and this is for any controller player in the game, for the love of everything holy, set to prioritize interact. This is how I loot fast. This is how I make sure that I'm always opening doors when I mean to, reloading when I mean to, picking up teammates when I mean to. This is one of the most important controller settings, whether you're sniping or running gunning. Prioritize interact. For everything holy, take advantage of that. Okay? Now, of course, it wouldn't be a settings video for me if I wasn't talking about the controller that I'm using. I use the eSwap X Pro 2. This is from Thrustmaster. Thrustmaster is one of my partners. I've been working with them for 3 years. I absolutely love their controllers. And their controllers are extremely customizable. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the ThrustMapper app. This is available on Xbox and on PC. Sorry, PlayStation users. Hopefully we can remedy that in the future. But this app is highly customizable. This allows me to go through and change every button, every D-pad, every bumper. It doesn't matter. I can go through and individually set each, so you can see that I have just jump and slide on my back buttons. It's all I really need. I primarily only use jump. But then you can also go through and set your sensitivity curves, your dead zones, and all of that through the controller setting as well. Meaning, if you are a Call of Duty player and you go and play X-Defiant or anything like that, you can set all of your stuff up from in here so that you don't have to change in-game settings a ton. And it saves tons of time, especially like I just recently did a customs tournament at one of the local spots here in Knoxville, and I didn't have to go through and set up all my settings because I could just set them through my controller before I even went. Trigger settings, you can set how far they need to go and all of that, and then vibration settings as well. This is by far one of the most utilitarian controllers and customizable. As you'll see, the joysticks and all of that come out, can be replaced for taller or shorter. D-pad can be taken out and replaced. If there gets to be any damage done to one of the sticks, say you drop it, break one, they can be replaced and you don't have to buy a whole new controller. I, of course, love my Thrustmaster, and if you have the option to ever try to get one, I recommend doing so. They make all sorts of different versions from intro level to all the way to the highly customizable versions that I use myself. and by far one of my favorite brands I've ever got to work with. Now, that was an intro level to sniping in Warzone and how to be the absolute best. I went through some builds, I went through some of my settings, and I got to let you see some of the gameplay of how to utilize it properly. But if sniping isn't your everything and you want to see some really awesome builds, I recommend checking out one of these videos up here. And make sure you like and sub to the channel, as we will have more tutorials on how to get better at Warzone. And I look forward to seeing you all in the future. What's the name of the scope you're using on the SMG? The SMG one is the FSS Spectre Thermal. It comes from the Fallout bundle, though, unfortunately, Planet. Squeezy, thank you to the GGs. Appreciate you, buddy.
Play your kick, back out and join.
Dude, you keep getting banned every game.
Yeah, you're bad.
Ahmed, the shotgun's bad, so if everybody's using the shotgun, they're just losing. The shotgun's not good, so don't worry about it.